Hello everyone, it's Natasha from Treasure Books. In this video, I'm going to show you 4 ideas on how you can make envelopes, no tools and no measuring required. And then at the end, I'm going to show you 4 bonus ideas on making some envelopes. But first of all, I'm going to show you what you can expect to learn from this video, and then we'll get started with the tutorials. We are going to start off with making some wonky envelopes like this, and I'm calling them wonky because they are non-symmetrical and they are freehand, very simple and easy to do, any size, even tiny little ones from book pages like this. And you can very easily play with your design and, adding different elements and all that sort of stuff. Then we are going to use the exact same principle to make some symmetrical envelopes like this. We are using book pages. You can use any paper that you have on hand, some tea-dyed paper like this, and it's using the same principle as the freehand one, but they're not freehand, they're kind of, symmetrical and even looking. And this is the one that we're going to make in the tutorial, and it just happens to be my favorite one. Idea number 3 is this one here. You may have seen these done before. So they are asymmetrical, and it's using a different principle than the first 2 that we do. And this one here is the one that I'll make in the tutorial. And then we're going to use this principle to make these envelopes. And for these ones, I'm particularly excited about these ones because we're using 6 by 6 pieces of paper. So great way to use up your paper pads. And then these ones here are 12 by 12. So 12 by 12 pieces of square paper. So we're using rectangular for these ones and square for these ones. Let me just say that there are many different ways of making envelopes. These are just 4 that I have chosen to show you because I feel like it's the best kind of design for, making junk journals and adding ephemera pieces into the journals and all that sort of stuff. But there are many different ways of making envelopes, and you don't need any tools. You just need your glue and your scissors. All right, let's get into the tutorial. Okay, so the first type of envelope I'm going to show you how to do are these asymmetrical wonky type envelopes. You can have them running this way, long and narrow. They look really quite interesting in a journal because they're so, different. So let me just show you something. This is, I guess, the principle of making these envelopes. And once you see it, it will all make sense. And then when you see me do it, it will make perfect sense. So let's pretend this is the paper we're going to do. And then we're going to make 4 folds. No measuring. And then we're going to make 4 points where they meet, the folds. And then we're going to freehand cut. So what an envelope needs, well, this particular style anyway, it needs 4 flaps, 2 on the side and 2 top and bottom. And then you just fold the envelope. So I'm going to make one long and narrow one, and I'm going to make one that's like this. So we'll start with this one first. Now let's make those folds. So I'm not going to measure, obviously I'm just going to eyeball and make my 4 folds. And you can play around with this part, how you want it to look. So I'm doing approximately 1 inch. I just want my sides to be somewhat similar in size. And then we're going to fold up. I'm going to go maybe about here. And then this will be my top flap, fold down. And you can see my measuring isn't, well, no measuring. So, things are sticking out, but that's fine because we're not striving for perfection and we don't need everything to be perfect. I'm just going to mark where the folds meet just so it's easier for me to cut. And now I know I need a flap here, here, up the top and here. So the top one will be, I can play around with how that looks. So I can play around with it. I can have it, somewhat in the middle. I can have it slanted to one side. I can have it slanted to the other side, or I can do like a little bit of a wiggly thing there. I mean, there's just so many things that we can do. But now I'm going to start cutting. Just freehand. And what I want to make sure is these side flaps. I want the side flaps I want to leave as much as I possibly can on the side flaps. You can see that's my one side flap, and then I'm going to, the top flap, I might slant it to one side, like that. And now my other side flap, and then the bottom. And here is what I have. And now you'll see when I close the side flaps and the top, there is my envelope. I'm going to ink the edges just so you can see it better. And when I'm inking the edges, I don't need to ink all of the edges because they will be glued down. So I'll just ink top of the flaps. See how you can see it there better. And now just ink all around. And here we go. So you can see a little bit better there, my wonky envelope. And now to glue, what I do so that I don't make a mistake and have glue go where it's not supposed to, I just mark on the inside. So you can see just sort of where they meet. I'll just mark a little bit. You can see those 2 marks that I've made. And now I know that's where my glue needs to go up to. So I grab my glue and just put a little bit on the side here, up to that mark, and on the other side, and close my envelope. And there we go, envelope done. It's not dry yet, so that's fine. And then we can go ahead and embellish. I have some ready-made little embellishments. I don't know, anything will do, you know, a bit of lace, whatever. I'm quite happy with this, so I'm just going to go ahead and glue that piece down. If you wish to embellish, of course. And there we go. That's it for that one. Now I'm going to do this long one, a long wonky envelope. And we are doing the exact same thing that I have just done, but we're turning the paper this way. I might turn this side because it looks better. So now I'm going to do my side flaps. Try and make them similar in size. And this will be my bottom, just approximately. Usually I leave the bottom longer than the top. And then the top, there we go. And now I'm just going to mark. And now I'm going to start cutting. So I'll start over here somewhere. Now with the side flaps, I mentioned before we want to leave as much as possible of the side flap. So I'm not going to go in and cut this much, right? And I'll tell you why. I have made that mistake with this envelope. It's no big deal, but you have a gap here. I should have left that side flap. I should have left more. And then you wouldn't have this gap. So that's the only reason why. So every time I'm cutting the sides now, I want to make sure as much as possible, to leave as much as possible. And now maybe I'll slant this one. I think I might have a gap on this one because I slanted it too much. And I'm going to leave this in just so you can see the mistake, I guess. So let's see. I think there's going to be a gap on this one. Okay, here we go. So you can see a little bit of a gap there. And I'm actually going to hide that and I'll show you that in a moment. But first, I'm going to just mark here where they meet and apply my glue. See? Now I see where my glue goes up to. Here we go. So that little gap there really doesn't bother me, but just in case, I just grabbed a little bit of a snippet of a lace that I have, and I'm going to glue that on there. They're wonky envelopes, so anything goes, really. And then I have this little, just a snippet of some sort, and I'm going to glue that on top of there. And that looks quite nice already, just to leave it as is, or maybe add a little something in the middle. The first thing that I had on hand. And there we go. That's it. Done. I think they look quite nice. And you can just go to town with embellishing. Here I've done a little bit of sewing. I don't know if you can see it. Just, you know, just adds a little special touch. When I was doing the flap here, I just kind of, you know, you can use your border punches as well to make it, I don't know, whatever, you know, anything goes. And also great for using up book pages. I just use, this is the size of the book page, so quite a smallish book page, and I just made these little envelopes, and you can just go to town with this. I think out of all of these ones that I made, the wonky ones, this one has to be my favorite, because I used this paper that I've tea dyed and then just added some splotches onto it. And it looks really quite rich, and then I embellished with a bit of lace and a little bit of something here. Just some strips of paper and a focal point, and I think it looks really nice. So this one has got to be my favorite. All right, let's move on to the next one. Okay, now for this one really is no-brainer because we're using the exact same principle that I've showed you here, but we are just cutting, instead of doing the freehand cutting, we're just cutting the 4 corners off. And then once again, of course, you can go ahead and use book pages. And I'll show you how to do this inside bit as well. No measuring. It's very, very simple. You can play around with your little closures and how you want them to, you know, this is also from a book. or a magazine. Music paper, just go ahead and grab whatever you have on hand. This is also from a book. Play around with any punches that you have, you know, all that sort of stuff. All right, let's get started. I'm going to use another one of my splotchy papers. And once again, you can do the same thing. You can do them long and narrow, or this sort of design. What would you call it? I don't know. So I'm going to make the same folds again, eyeballing, you know, to make sure that they're similar in size on both sides. Exact same thing, okay? Now folding up, I want the bottom to be larger than the top. And then fold it this way. And you can see it's not looking great, you know, and it doesn't have to. Open it up. And now I'm just trimming these 4 corners off. So I don't really have to mark anything here, but I will, just to stay consistent, you know. There's my little point here, and I'm just gonna trim everything off. Corner number 1. All right, my corners are off, and now I also keep these strips because I can use them for the embellishment. And now you can see when I close this, there we go, there's my envelope. I need to make a few adjustments. So the first thing I'm going to do, you can play around here. You can have this part going all the way, almost all the way up, or you can trim it down like this, or fold it down. And that's what I'm going to do. I might just fold this part down, just to make it a little bit shorter, because why not? And now to make everything look, you know, nice, I'm going to mark where they meet. See how I made that little mark here? And now I'm just going to trim this part off from this corner to the mark that I made. So from this corner to this mark. See, to make it look more presentable, it doesn't have to, you don't have to do this, but you can. And you don't have to draw that line. I just drew that line to show you. So I'm cutting from this mark that I made to this point here at the corner. And there we go. You can see right there. I'm going to ink the edges. So here I'm just inking the tops. I don't have to ink things that are not visible. And I'm just going to go ahead and glue that down. So I know that my glue has to come up to about there. And because I folded this top down, I might just pop a little bit of glue in there just to hold it shut like that. Just to hold it in place. And then just approximately, you know, I'm going to go with my glue up the top. Maybe I'll put a little bit of glue here. We're just gluing the sides down. You can sew them, whatever, you know. And now I'll go ahead, you know, have this little bit sticking out here. I might just trim that down a little bit. And now I can play with the top. Leave it as is. Do a little something, whatever. You know, I might do the edges at the corners here, around the corners, because I like that look. Ink everything. And there it is, my envelope. So I think, you know, maybe I'll embellish it using these strips. I'll just pop them on like this. Take it to my sewing machine or glue them together. Here we go. I've just popped it through my sewing machine. It really would have been better if I used these leftovers that I had from the previous one because they're a different color. But it's okay. Maybe just haphazardly, crazily go over it a little bit with my ink blender, I think it's called. Here we go. Maybe add a little bit of something. I should have sewn this straight on. What else have I got? I don't know. Just playing around. That's a bit crazy-ish, but I'm going to do it. And I'm just going to sew right through everything. So the sewing will show on this side, but that's okay. I don't mind that look. Here we go. I really like it, actually. Maybe it's not, you know, maybe I didn't do a straight job. You can see it's a little bit slanted. That's fine. It doesn't bother me. But here we go. If that's something that bothers you, you can always make it look okay by adding another stitch, which is what I just did, to make it look intentional. So you have 2 stitches, you know, if you do something wrong, there's ways that you can fix them. But generally, I don't worry about that sort of thing. I really like how this turned out. So now that you know that principle, really quite simple. You've probably done it before. It's just a matter of adding little bits and pieces to it. And I really love this one as well from a book page. See, it looks really pretty. I've done the same thing here. Just added a butterfly. You know, music page. Quite fun. All right, let's move on to the next one. I have to say this one is my favorite, definitely. By the way, I forgot to mention you can make this one long as well if you want, if you prefer that look. So when you're cutting your paper, you just turn it, you just turn it to the side. You have your narrow folds here and your wider folds here. Maybe I'll do one just real quick. I'll use this coloring page, and it is rectangular, and I'll just make my narrow strips on the sides, and then these folds here will be wider, and then I will end up with this size envelope. But let me just cut it all off. There we go. And I'm not going to trim this one down. I'll leave it long, so there's only a tiny little bit here I have to trim off. I don't even have to do it, but I'm going to. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. Add my glue, trim off any boo-boos, because we're not measuring and we don't care. Now if you want, you can add the wonky element here. Why not? Here we go. So you can have your symmetrical and perfect on the inside, and then you can have a bit of a wonky wonk going on the top flap. Let's just quickly add all these bits and pieces, and I'm going to make them go this way and that. I couldn't resist, and I took it to my sewing machine, so I can glue that on there. And I thought maybe I can use, this is just a stamp that I've stamped on a piece of paper. I like it. Add a bit of glue. This is just for some inspiration, because now you already know how to make the envelope. And then the embellishing part, it doesn't have to be anything exquisite. It can be if you want to, if you want it to be. I think this looks quite exquisite. And then here we go. And then when you have something like this tucked in a journal with little journaling spots or extra paper or extra little goodies, you know, printables, images, whatever you like to use, and it's clipped into a journal, perfect. It's that perfect little touch. All right, let's move on to the next one. All right, the third way, it's these asymmetrical, definitely asymmetrical, you can see. But they're not, they have straight lines. And you may have done these before, you may have seen tutorials. I've seen a few tutorials on YouTube, but I won't be able to say who I've actually watched, because I've done these years ago and I don't remember who I've watched. It's not my idea, but I'm going to show you how to make them if you don't know. So what we need is an A4 size paper, or whatever size paper, as long as it's rectangular, just for these ones. I might use another one of my splotchy papers, and this is how it's done. Again, no measuring. The only first thing you have to do is fold it in half and find the middle. And we're finding the middle, so I'm just gonna, make a little mark there. And if you're struggling to see, you can just mark a little spot. And that's my middle. And now I need to fold the bottom side up. And you can eyeball this, but you want it to be straight. So what you can do is plop another piece of paper next to it to make sure that it's straight. But I usually just go, I just kind of wing it, and usually it turns out well. So you've made your first fold, and now you do the opposite side, and you just meet the paper. So you meet them like this. Okay? And now this, let's say this is going to be my bottom. I want this side to be folded a little bit, like this. So my little triangle here is sticking up, and I like that look. You can trim that off if you want to. But as long as you have a little bit of a fold here, perfect. So you have a large fold here, and then a little bit of a fold here. And now we're going to do this one here. And just kind of align everything. They don't always align. Sometimes if you didn't do that fold properly, you might have this bit sticking out. And that's fine if you do. It's not ruined. You don't have to throw it out. You can just trim it off. So you can see here, this is your top flap. And I really want to get rid of this part here. You don't really have to, but I'm going to get rid of this part here. You can see this triangle right there. And maybe this little one here as well. Just so it's easier for that to open and close. And I'm going to keep that little triangle there because I've used it in embellishing. Where is it? You can see here, I've used a triangle left over from making this one to embellish this one. So especially if it's nice paper, you can, and here you can see these triangles. I've used those triangles to embellish this envelope. If you haven't done it before, it might seem a little complicated. I wish I could write the instructions down, but I wouldn't know how to write the instructions down. So I might just do one more after this one. All right, and now with the gluing, I do the same thing. I'll kind of mark myself where they sort of meet, just underneath. So that way I know where to stop with the glue. And also you can play around here. You can slant this if you want, I haven't done any of mine. I kind of left all of them straight because it's just another step, but why not for this? For this one, I might just trim a bit there. Why not? Let's see what happens. There we go. I trimmed a bit. Yeah, looks even better. You'll see it better when it's inked. I don't know if I finished what I was saying before. if you haven't made it before, if you haven't seen it before, it might seem like it's complicated and you know, too much work. But once you made 2 or 3, it's really really easy. Really easy. Okay, I've added my glue, and now you can go to town with this and embellish whatever you can do, whatever, you know, comes to mind. I really want to use this corner piece that I've cut off. I have an idea. It just popped into my head. So I'm going to make this a pocket, because a pocket on an envelope. I mean, what's wrong with a pocket on an envelope? So I'm just going to glue down these sides, add a little tag, maybe something like this. I should put these here for a little bit more eye candy. I can do little tag things up the top like that. You know, I'm not going to bother right now, but I could. And I feel like I need a little bit of something here, maybe butterfly, maybe flower. Let's see. I like that better. I'm just going to glue that on. Maybe a little blingety bling gem in the middle. Just pop a bit of glue. I've done that for the other envelopes and I really like that look. So I'm just going to go ahead with that. There we go. Quite nice. I like it. A little bit of an interesting. Oh, here we go. I've done those flowers here. This is a book page. I've done a little closure here, wraparound closure. I have a tutorial on how I do these, and I'm going to link it down below. I liked using the little triangle. See here, I've put a little triangle because the whole envelope has that straight lines, but you know, triangle-y kind of feel. So adding more, I kind of like it. I'm going to do one more. I'm not going to embellish. I'll just quickly show you again, just one more time, and we'll speed it up, just so I can kind of make sense and sink in, I guess. I might use this purple paper. This is from my Easter egg dyeing. Okay, first we're making that middle, and now I marked it there, and I'm going to fold my first fold to the middle of the paper and hope for the best. I'm going to go ahead and do the same on the other side. Here we go. That's all you have to do, and now it's just really logical next step would be we're going to fold this bottom piece down, but I want a little bit of a fold here. So I'm not going to fold right there where that point is. I'm going to go up a little bit. Here we go. And then same up here. All right. And then we go back inside and we trim these bits, these little triangles. If you forget to do it, it's still fine. There we go. All trimmed. Then you can ink, then you can glue. You can trim this down. You can trim this down. Let's see. You can do this. I mean, they don't have to be. They can be any way you want them to be. Here we go, trim that, make it shorter. You can play around with the triangle or not, you can do whatever you want. So with the gluing, you just mark where you can go up to, add your glue, and there you go. All right, now let's move on to our next one. And guys, this is going to be so easy to do. These are your typical envelopes, okay? And there's many different ways of making envelopes, but because we've learned, we are making these ones exactly the same way as the ones that I've just shown you. The only difference is I'm using 12 by 12 sheets of paper here and 6 by 6 sheets of paper here. So really good to use up your pads, especially papers that you don't really like very much, like this one. It's not particularly, you know, fabulous for my liking. It's a good summer, I don't know, paper, but whatever, you know. Let me show you how to do it. We're going to do 12 by 12 first, and let's choose a paper that's not particularly terrific looking, like this one, for example. I mean, it's not bad. Don't get offended, please. I've had some comments that I shouldn't call paper ugly because, you know, how offensive to the designers. So pretty paper, okay? I like the paper. Perfect for this envelope I'm going to make. So we are doing the exact same thing as what I've just shown you. So the first thing we're going to do, that's going to be the outside. So I'm going to turn the paper this way, and I'm going to find the middle. I'm going to mark myself a little mark over here so I know. And then I'm going to fold it in half. Yes, not in half, but I'm going to make a fold here. Try and make it straight. We're doing the exact same thing as what I've just shown you before, but we're using square paper. It doesn't have to be 12 by 12. It doesn't have to be 6 by 6. It can be whatever square paper you have. And now with the other side, we're just going to meet the two together. So with the other one that I was showing you, because it was rectangular, they were sitting next to each other. Because this one's square, we're just meeting them together right here in the middle. see they meet. And now, I mean, look at this. You just fold the the bottom flap up, and then you fold the top flap down, and there you go. The reason why they will differ in size, I don't know if I mentioned that, you can see here how some of them are different in size. They're not exactly the same. You can see here, this one's a lot larger than these ones here. So that where you make your fold will determine how big your envelope is. If you only make the fold down here, see how I've made the fold here? You could have made the fold there, and then it would be a longer, larger envelope. Or where you make this top, that determines how big the envelope is. I know that makes sense. Well, I hope it makes sense. And now what I'm going to do, exactly the same as before, I'm just going to trim off these two little triangles. So there are other ways of doing this. Of course, there's many different ways of making envelopes. You could have a cardstock piece of paper that you put in the middle, and then you make your folds that way. You know, that's another way, but I'm not demonstrating that in this video because I just did it this way. And I'm just fixing some little imperfections. And I just also want to show you, this one here came out wonky. And you can see, because I chose this pattern that's got lines, you can actually see that the lines are weird. They're not straight. And this side is longer than this side. And that's fine because I added this doily up the top just to kind of take away from that. All right, now I'm going to trim this off, this little triangle here. You can leave it or don't, up to you. So I just marked where I need to cut. I'm just going to trim that off, and there we go. Glue here. I'm going to ink because inking adds a little bit of, something. I think out of this whole process of making envelopes, it's the inking that actually takes the longest. So you can totally skip that step if you want to, but it just makes everything look so much nicer. See, when it's inked? All right, here we go. And now I'm going to add my glue. I don't need to mark anything because they're already meeting here. I like to add the glue, start here and then go up the top. And there's my envelope. And I should have mentioned before I glued it, but I guess I can open it up and mention it. People also ask me, people who haven't seen my video where I explain this process, how do you bind an envelope into a journal? You leave your envelope open, you bind it into the journal, and then once you've got your journal all bound and ready to go, then you add your glue and you close your envelope. I have shown it in the video before. I hope it, makes sense. And I think this paper looks so much nicer as an envelope than it would as a page in a journal. So it's not ugly, it just has its specific purpose in life, which is to become this envelope. And now you can become a little bit creative if you want to and use that little, this one here that you had left off. Maybe you can glue it there on the inside, makes it even more special. I like it and I'm going to do it. I didn't do it on the other ones because I didn't get that idea. It just popped into my head now because I was thinking, I'm just going to throw this piece of paper away, and then I thought, hang on a minute, what if I glue that back in there? I like that. And now as you can see with these large envelopes, I started with the doily because this one was all wonky and not straight, and I really liked that doily look. Here I have laid two doilies. This one was avocado dyed, and then I added this flower, and I think it looks really nice. So I might go with the doily again, and I'm going to show you how I do the doily. So I'm just going to find where I'm going to pop the doily so it can be up here, not going under the the flap, or you can have it hanging down a little bit like that. You can play around, whatever. I like it here. So I find where I want it, and then I fold that doily to the back. Or you can, if you don't want doily on the back unnecessarily, because see how mine have the doily at the back, and I like it, so that's why I do it. But if you don't want to waste your paper doilies, you can just trim that piece off and then use this side for another envelope. And now I just add, doilies are kind of, they seem hard to glue, but they're not really. So I'm holding it into place, and then I'm just going to add a little bit of glue here and there. Maybe on these bits, just a dab of little glue. Plop it down, glue it down. Here we go. Do same for the back. And then the embellishing part. Maybe I can do something with this one that I was looking at before. Yeah, I like that. It's perfect, even though it's not a whole flower, it's cut in half. you know, if I went looking for the perfect piece for this envelope, it will take all day, because it can always be better. No matter what you do, it can always be better. But we're not striving for that kind of perfectionism. And good enough is perfect. Maybe I can add another flower here. You know, I could just keep going, but I won't. I don't know, feel like I need something there. You know, this one's got a flower. I don't know, feel like I need to finish this off. What can I do? Now that I said don't waste your time looking for that perfect piece, that's exactly what I'm doing. But I just don't feel like it's finished. There we go. I can secure that on with the brad. And the brad will be showing through. It has been showing through. Oh, no, I didn't secure. Okay, so that one's not showing through. Are any of them showing through? No, they're not. Well, this one will be. Why should this one be the same as the other ones? So I'm going to layer these two little flowers on. This one's destiny in life is to be different than everybody else. See? Does that bother me? It does not. Does it bother you? I like it. And I'm quite happy with how it turned out. So I will just quickly do exactly the same thing with the 6x6. What a perfect way to use up our little notepads, paper pads. Let's choose one from here. So maybe we can do this one. All right, let's just do the quick version. Find the middle. Fold your paper up the best that you can. And then fold this one in to meet its little friend. See? Maybe they're lovers, they're kissing. And then we're going to fold up. Oh, I like this dark here, so I want this to be my top flap. So I'll fold and then fold this one down. And there's your envelope. The gluing obviously comes easy. I'm just going to get rid of these ones here. Here we go. So you can see it's not absolute perfection, because it wasn't the same on both sides. But when I trimmed it down, this one here mates and this one goes a little bit beyond, just to make it appear that it's symmetrical, but it wasn't to start off with. All right, and now I'm going to add a little bit of glue here and here. And then these lovers can have a little bit of privacy. There we go. Get a room. Envelope done. This one also strives to be different than all the others, so we might round this flap here, because I haven't done it on these ones. Those ones are all pointy, and then I can go ahead and embellish it again. Same with that flower. But I forgot it wants to be different than all the others, so I might put this little center instead of the bling that I did on the other ones. It has its own personality. And there we go. Real quick and easy and fun to make. Doesn't take long at all. And it's just one way of making an envelope. Here are some more ideas, and I've already done tutorials on these, and I'm going to link them down below. Just ways of making little envelopes. This one is using book pages and whatever type of material you have. I was using this type of lace. You can use a see-through lace. You can use whatever you have, and they look really quite nice. But these ones look a little bit gypsy-ish. And then, you know, so I will link this tutorial down below. Then I've also done a tutorial on these ones as well. They're not really envelopes per se, but they kind of fall in within that category. And these are 6x6, the little ones. You can make any size as long as you have a square piece of paper. And this big one here is actually a 12x12 piece of paper, and this one here as well. I have a tutorial on these. You probably might have seen it, or you have not. It doesn't matter. You may have made them before. They're an origami type thing, and they were actually used for drinking cups. So they're not envelopes. They were like made for, I don't know, drinking cups on the go. A bonus idea number 2. All right, here is another one. I also have a tutorial on these, and this was quite a popular tutorial. And basically what they are is they are flip down envelopes. Well, are they envelopes? They could be if you just glue the sides, but all of these ones here I have left, you know, as journaling spaces for when you have this in your journal. And this idea is really great to use up all of your little bits and pieces. Oh, there's little ones. There's this one here. See, flip down. It's so simple, but sometimes, you know, see, it's got a little stopper here. So that's also an idea that you can use for an envelope. Have a little closure or a little stopper. So I've done all of these tutorials before, so I'm not gonna, redo it. But if you are interested, you can have a look at a link. This one here, I didn't do a tutorial because it's so straightforward. I just kind of did it for my own personal use. See little envelopes? Look at them. They're perfect. They're like little. I always need little envelopes, And I'll just quickly show you how to do them. I was using a book page, not this one, and I got rid of the white bits because I like the writing to go all the way. I didn't want to have the side white bits. It's just what I did. So I just got rid of them. I just used my ruler. The only thing is the front of your envelope will have writing going the correct way, but the back will have the writing going the wrong way. And I'm fine with that. So what you do when you're making your envelope, if you're looking at your piece of paper, you need to turn it upside down so that you have the writing correct way at the front. And now I'm just going to make two little what? I don't know, folds right there. And then this one can go, I'm just eyeballing it here. This one can go here. I was doing it like this to make it stronger. And then we fold the flap down. And there we go, a little envelope. So what I did with these ones, I took it to my sewing machine. I'll just glue these down. And you can glue the sides down here. And I just took it to my sewing machine and I sewed all around. You can see here. Or you can just sew just the sides. Here we go. I just sewed this one because I can't help myself. And there we go. Great way to use up book pages. Don't just go ripping into books. It's another thing people get upset about. I have quite a few books that I have saved from extinction. This way I'm giving them second life. So there we go. I hope you guys feel inspired and you're gonna start cracking on making some envelopes. So remember, these two are the same principle. That's the wonky one and that's the symmetrical one. And then these ones here, again, same principle. This one we're using rectangular paper and this one we're using square paper. Have a look at the other tutorials that I have mentioned and linked down below in the description box. Please let me know what you think about this video. Are you feeling inspired? Any questions you may have, any comments, please comment. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.